So please welcome, with her speech entitled The First Gay Bishops, Katy, everybody!
Finally! Sorry about my pre-introduction before, but I did get a little lift. And by the way, it's not called the first gay bishops anymore, it's called the first married gay bishops. So here we go. Nowadays, us decent people, meaning everybody here, are liberal, and there's a general belief that we've evolved to be open-minded and accepting of others. Lots of us have never been in a closet or needed to hide in one, and nowadays, in all but bigoted countries, we have same-sex marriages and religious freedom. But hang on a minute. If this is actually the case, you'd expect that the first marriage of gay bishops would have taken place recently or would be taking place soon. Well, forget that. Instead, we are now travelling back to 6th century Visigothic Spain, to the city of Merida, to meet two men, Bishop Paul and his partner Fidelis. Paul and Fidelis kissed in public, shared the same bed, and like numerous married couples, Fidelis inherited Paul's wealth and position. And when Bishop Fidelis died, Paul and Fidelis shared the same tomb too. So why have we never heard about Paul and Fidelis? It's the Catholic Church, that's why. Soon after the death of Jesus Christ, the historical figure, the church started to define orthodoxy and decide what was right and what was wrong. It soon found that it wasn't orthodox for bishops to be married or gay, and certainly not both. Instead, it decided it was orthodox for all Catholic clergy to be celibate. By the time of our bishops, the church had started a process of rewriting its history to conform to its orthodoxy. In other words, a clean-up job to get rid of the evidence that contradicted their new worldview. Well, they didn't do a good enough job when it came to Bishops Paul and Fidelis. There's enough evidence in a little book that somehow survived to prove that Paul and Fidelis didn't conform. The author of the Lives of the Holy Fathers of Merida did his best to explain away their gay behaviour, but when a discourse analysis is applied, inspired by Michel Foucault, Bishops Paul and Fidelis come back out of the closet that the Catholic Church locked them in 1,500 years ago. If we didn't analyse the text, we'd have to believe that Fidelis and Paul were uncle and nephew, that it was a fantastically miraculous coincidence that uncle and nephew were reunited in Merida. Those lies told, others could be smuggled past us. We're to believe that the public kissing was purely fraternal, and we're to believe that sharing the same bed was just because they had so much scripture to discuss. We're to believe that it was to be expected, not highly exceptional or verging on the unique, that uncle and nephew were buried in the same tomb. That never happens. Right. There's so much more to this story, a lot about the tomb which the author, fortunately for us, couldn't ignore, but also about Visigothic society. Their 200-year migration throughout the hostile environment of Roman Europe, their sacking of Rome in 410 and other spectacular adventures, all before being settled in their Spanish territory, and talking about being open-minded and liberal, how the Visigoths accepted outsiders, including Paul, and what is more, let outsiders thrive in their communities, how the Visigoths embraced all religions, pagan, Jew, Christian, and after Spain was invaded in 711, the relatively new religion of Islam too. How they feared death but admired the wound. How Bishop Paul performed the first gynecological surgery ever recorded in Western literature. But most of all, the Visigoths live and let live attitude in which a person's sexuality and religion were completely inconsequential. I could go on, and I aim to in a novel. In the meantime, I hope I've shown that we haven't slowly evolved to have our liberal mindsets. Instead, we've arrived here despite the efforts of bigots and bigotry. And in actual fact, we should congratulate ourselves. Thank you.